All right, our next session is going to be a lot of fun. We're having two of our mastermind members come up and share their success stories with you. And I specifically asked Shelly and Lisa because I think their stories are very different. I know there are some of you in the room that are thinking, I want to own my own business. I'd like to open my own studio. I'd like to do this for a living, but I don't know if I can do it. Or maybe you're scared, terrified. And some of the speakers you can't relate to, right? Like you hear Dustin and he's killing it, and you're like, well, gee, I don't think I can be Dustin in 6 months. But Shelly was here last year, and she had 0 clients. And in October, she opened. And she just told me in May she did $16,000. So that's great. So it would give you an example of someone who a year ago was thinking about opening a studio, knew she wanted to do it, knew this was her calling. And then Lisa is going to be the opposite end of that because she's been doing this for longer than I have. And you're going to hear from someone who I was actually able to motivate and inspire to greater things. And she'll probably share some of our challenging conversations. So we're going to start off with Shelly Turk. Shelly was the first and only functional aging specialist in all of Saskatchewan, which was a big claim to fame for her, and she was really proud of that. Now I believe there are 2, so she's the first. But please welcome Shelly Turk to the stage.
Come with me now. Come with me now. Come with me now. I'm gonna take you down. Come with me now. I'm gonna show you how.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you. So for 26 years of my life, I was a medical cytotechnologist. I was a specialized lab tech. And for the last 13 of those 26 years, I spent my time here in this dreary little cubicle, screening pap smears, entering my results in that computer right there. It was boring, it was tedious, but it was still pretty stressful because people's health was on the line. In 2010, I took another part-time job as a personal trainer at a local gym. And the training part I loved. I've been a gym girl for like 27 years of my life. I loved that. And I wanted to do more of it. I dreamt of doing that full-time. So shortly after I began doing the training, I put up a quote in my cubicle, and you can see it right there, hanging there. And this is what it said. If the habit of your day-to-day is greater than the hunger of your dreams, nothing will ever change. Well, I looked at that every day that I was at work. I was working half-time, so 2-3 days a week. I would look at that and dream. After 26 years, I finally did something about it. So this is where I work now. This is my personal training studio in Saskatoon. This is me having a good time with my clients, and I get to do every day what I love to do, which is train people, motivate them, and change their lives. So Dan asked me to talk to you today about how I went from the cubicle to owning my own business. And I'll tell you right now, it took a lot of help. I was here last year, as Dan said. I didn't have 0 clients. I had a handful of clients as I was working at that that gym. And 2 things I know really made a big difference in helping me get to where I am now. I knew my weaknesses. I have a long list of them, but the number one, I think, in starting my own business was that I had 0 business knowledge, 0 business experience. So I knew that I would need coaching, and I know for a fact I would not be here today were it not for the coaching that I received from Dan and Cody and being a part of the mastermind group. But I also knew my strengths. I knew that I was really good at building social connections. I love meeting new people and developing new relationships and becoming friends with new people. So I decided I would play to that strength, and it's really helped me get to where I am. So this whole thing started in about 2014. I sat down with a trainer friend of mine named Barb. And like me, Barb had most of her clients over the age of 50. And she had lots of training experience. We sat down at coffee together, and we looked at each other and went, you know what, we should start a place for older adults. There is nothing like it in our town. So we started talking about that regularly. I signed up for the Turbulence Training Summit in June of that year. Y'all know Craig Ballantyne? Turbulence Training, yeah, I was one of his people. And I noticed on the registration online that there was a pre-conference workshop with Dr. Dan Ritchie to become a functional aging specialist. I thought, wow, that fits perfectly with my plan. So I went to TT, met Dan, I liked him, trusted him instantly, and I learned about their small group training model, which I thought was brilliant, and I took that home really excited to share that with Barb. We also made plans to go to the advanced FAS, which is the precursor to the mastermind, learn about the business side. So Barb and I went together. Here I am meeting Dr. Dan in San Diego. Here are Barb and I in West Lafayette. So learning more about their business model, I was really impressed with Dan and Cody and everything they had going on. Barb, however, had some reservations, and she looked a little worried the whole weekend and was a little nervous, a little tentative. So I was kind of worried, and I was right to be worried because she backed out on me a week after we got home. She sent me an email, so don't do that. Okay? At least make a phone call, sit down face to face. So I panicked. I emailed Dan to tell him the news, and he said, call me, which I did. And after about an hour on the phone, he convinced me that this was something that I could do on my own. So I took his advice. I rented some studio time at the gym where I was working. I started training in small groups the FAI way. And I started FitPro newsletter with a whopping 130 clients. And I got a realtor, started looking at spaces to see what kind of costs I was up against, and also joined women entrepreneurs and started developing my business plan. I also started talking to another trainer about coming to work with me. She had some experience owning her own studio, and she was very interested in what I was doing, so I thought maybe I'd have somebody else to come with me. I'm not much of a lone wolf, I'm more of a collaborator, so I was nervous about doing it on my own, so she seemed like a good option. So I continued working hard that winter and training my clients. I had my 10 private clients, my 3 small groups, and my boot camp. Lindell, a month before I went to the Functional Aging Summit, she told me she had to back out, so it was number 2, back out on me. But I met a great gal named Kirsty through my chiropractor, so friends, clients to the rescue. And a month before I went to the summit, I had started talks with the landlord on this perfect training space. A friend of mine, Simone, had found the perfect training space for me. She was a member at a local Pilates studio, and the Pilates studio had announced plans to build their own building. So Simone came to me and said, this place is perfect, you gotta see it. So I went on a recon mission with her as a guest to a mat class, and it was true, it was perfect. It was 2,400 square feet of awesomeness, and I didn't have to do a thing other than paint and move in. But the thing was, I had to wait for about a year. So finally, before I went to the FA Summit in 2015, this place came available. I had my realtor pounce on it, and the landlord wasn't keen on me as a startup, but he looked at my business plan and he said, I like this idea a lot, so I'll let you have it if you can get the financing. So I came here last year, having signed this conditional lease agreement, having paid $9,000 in deposit, and I was scared to death because I only had a handful of clients and didn't know how the heck I was going to make this work. Didn't stop us from having a really good time, though. So here I am with Dina, the rock star from last year. You met her yesterday. And seeing Dina and hearing her story about how she had gone from a corporate layoff position to owning her own place and not even being a trainer, it really inspired me. And I knew that maybe with Dan and Cody's help that I could do this, because I had been a trainer for several years and I was passionate about fitness, unlike her. And so I thought maybe this is something I could do if I had some help. So here I am having a good time with JR and Chris and Paul. So I got back from the summit last year, and my financing was approved, which was great. I signed up for Mastermind, and I started my coaching calls with Dan in August to get ready for my October opening. I found out that October was when I would get my space. Went to our first Mastermind meeting in August, and had a great time there, learned a lot, experienced the hot seat for the first time, and I went home with a long, long list of stuff to do from Dan and Cody, including quitting the lab. And I was lucky enough to get an LOA, a leave of absence, and I told Dan about that, and he didn't even know what the heck that was, because he's always worked in the private sector. I told him it was my safety net, so if I wanted to go back to the lab after a year, I could do that. He laughed at me and he said, you're not gonna need that, stop thinking like that. So I was glad to have his confidence. They told me to get the FAI book done, they told me to get the postcard series done, and they told me to get Facebook videos up and running. And I had no clue how to do any of this stuff, and I had only a month to do it. So here's the book. This is the book I ended up with. Nicole showed it to you yesterday. My poster girl, Trish, she's been fabulous, such a godsend to me. She was a former news anchor, 25 years in our community. She's married to a prominent politician. She's still really, really high profile, MCs many local events, moderates debates, that kind of thing. So I told Dan about her, and he really encouraged me to foster that relationship, and really nurture her along, and I have for years, in the 5 years she's been my client. And he encouraged me if she was willing to use her in all my marketing materials, and boy, was she ever. I've known this lady, like I said, for 5 years. I've spent a lot of time training her in her basement because it wasn't convenient for her to go to the gym with me. I picked her up to take her to yoga because she wasn't likely to go on her own. So I spent a lot of time, like I said, developing that relationship with her, not because I needed to use her, but because I really liked her as a person. Okay, and Trish was more than willing to bend over backwards for me. She gave me her time, her famous face, and we created Facebook ads and videos. We created postcards, and she was on the cover of my book. So investing in people has really paid off for me in spades. Okay, I would do anything for this lady, including wiping the sweat off of her bosom, as I'm doing right there. Social capital helped me find my first employee. My chiropractor helped me find Kirsty. This little girl is passionate about serving the older population, and she's been a fabulous asset, and I would never have met her had it not been my friendship with my clients and my chiropractor. Social capital helped me find my studio, and it helped me get ready. And Dan is always encouraging, build this social capital. It's so, so important. My friend Simone there, top left, she's the one who found the place in the first place. Clients down here, Mary and Annie, they came through for me big time when my parents and my sister weren't able to help me get ready for my opening. When I got my place at the beginning of October, these ladies donated their time. Annie's an artist. She helped me choose paint colors. She got me discounted paint. She donated pillows and light fixtures and mirrors and flower arrangements. Between these three ladies that you see here, here, and here, these guys were fabulous. I don't think I could have done it without them. And I had 15 clients come out over the course of 3 days and help get the place ready. So it looked better than I ever could have hoped on opening day. So mid-October is when we opened. Day one, I had 5 people sign up, so it wasn't a huge opening by any stretch. We had advertised through the postcards in an affluent neighborhood close to where the studio was. The book, come and drop by and get a copy of our book, and also come and visit our open house, enter for a free membership. That's how we marketed that. I had 60 people through the open house the first weekend. We got 8 new clients signed up that weekend. Several more came in over the course of the next few weeks because of the Facebook ads, the postcards, and the newspaper article. By the end of October, I had 28 clients, and I thought like I was on my way, finally. By this time, I was talking to Dan every 2 weeks with the coaching calls, and he really encouraged the importance of being everywhere that I could in front of my avatar. So like I said, we had the postcards, we had Facebook ads, and he suggested calling a newspaper, which I did. In my small community, it was a big deal for me to be opening this place. There's nothing like it in town. So I made a real point of emphasizing that, and they hopped right on it, and I got an ad or not an ad, but an article in the paper there, and we've been in the paper 2 more times since then. And we also got on TV. This is a horrible picture, but first thing in the morning, the TV reporter came out, and we ran her through a little workout, and we also brought in some clients, and we built some community and had some fun with it, created a little party atmosphere that morning for the clients that came in, and we had a real good time and got some great exposure through that. We were on twice, once in November and once again in March. So in November, December, I was having a little bit of trouble getting used to this whole business ownership idea. I had hired Kirsty at this point to train part-time at the studio, and so now I had payroll to contend with, which was scary. Had a late-night panic attack. I needed some help, so I turned to my friend Simone, who had found the space for me, and she came to work for me for free, which was awesome. She had time on her hands, was a stay-at-home mom. We were doing the 2 weeks promo at this time. I was just trying to get people into the studio as much as I could. I wasn't a great closer at this point, so I thought instead what I would do is offer people 2 weeks free and really try and wow them, give them a wow experience, because I think I'm a pretty decent personal trainer. And we did just that, and that was my main selling method for the first few months. So by the end of October, we had 38. By the end of December, we were up to 45. Dustin, these numbers seem puny to you, I'm sure. In January, Dan encouraged having a grand opening. So this was a little bit different, but really the same thing as the open house that we had in October. We signed 7 new people that weekend, and Dan again encouraged building that social network. So I joined the Saskatoon Women's Network in order to meet some business owners in my community. I hired another part-time trainer named Heidi, and having Simone around helped immensely because a lot of those people were falling through the cracks. They'd come in for 2 weeks, and I'd realize, oh my gosh, it's their last session, and I'd forget or wouldn't arrange. So I was kind of disorganized, kind of scattered. But Simone would help finish with those people. She'd catch them on the way out, and she'd often close them. So that was a huge benefit. By the end of January, we were up to 60 people and went to mastermind meeting number 2 in Dallas, where we had lots of good fun. Got to go to the world-renowned Cooper Institute. In February, I came back from Mastermind with the idea that I had to do something, some other kind of promotion. We were no longer offering those 2 weeks for free. So we ran our first 6-week challenge. We had only 18 people sign up, but we thought that was okay. Only 4 of them were brand new, getting in the door. But we wowed them and signed 3 of the 4. And as luck would have it, the mayor's wife won the whole thing. So that was great. And she's now a huge fan and one of our biggest promoters. We're big on building our community. We had a little wind-up party here where we were playing minute-to-win-it games. Everybody had a blast. They're still talking about it. So, in March, I went to Fitness Business Summit because that's part of the deal with the mastermind group. You get to go to that for free. I took Simone with me because at this point, I still was not paying her, bless her heart, and I decided to take her with me to California. So we went, and that was one of the best things I could have done. She saw the big picture. She got to meet Dan and Cody and mastermind members that were there, had a great time. By day 2, she was ready to buy a Fit Body boot camp. By day 3, I convinced her that was a bad idea, and instead, maybe she should join forces with me and invest in my company, which she is going to do now. So we're going to be partners. And I started listening to Dan's advice here. The email thing, I was really hesitant to email my people more than once a week. I didn't want to bother them. And Dan and Cody continued to assure me that it was okay to send out more than 1 email a week. I'm not quite up to Dustin's 5 to 7, but we're doing 2 to 3 now, and that really has made a big difference. So end of March, we had no real change in numbers, which was a little disappointing. But that book thing, we started actually talking about the promotion or the low barrier offer that was in the book. Up to this point, I was just kind of handing them out like business cards. Once we paid attention to that and pointed it out to people, things started to happen. In April, Mastermind again in Phoenix, and we went through the PT Marketing Boot Camp with Nicole and Dan, which was brilliant. And that book promotion thing has really started to work. So as of the end of April, we had given out about 300 books. And now, actually 22 have done the promo now. My numbers changed just last week. We've signed 10 to long-term contracts, and we've made over $16,000 in revenue just from that book. So I encourage you to get on that if you haven't done that yet. And by the end of April, because of those book promotions, because of our 6-week challenge that we ran, our numbers were up to 73 people. We tweaked our challenge. We've made it a little bit better. Started doing it a little bit differently, and email marketing has brought in 14 new people to our latest challenge. We're currently in week 4 of this, and we're doing walks, and we're building community, and getting everybody to know each other better and become the third place. Like, we're trying to be the cheers for these people, okay, after their home and their work, and it's starting to happen. So currently, here's where we're at. I think we've signed 2 more since I made this slide. So we're at 75 small group members, 8 private, and 22 are currently doing promos. As Dan mentioned, we did $16,000 in sales in May, which I'm really excited about. $12,000 EFT roughly right now. Kirsty has given me her time completely. She's quit her other job. She's going to start working for me full time. And I'm hiring a casual trainer to cover some holiday time. Simone and I are currently in the midst of negotiating our partnership agreement, and we had that other article come out May 31st, which was awesome. Still getting phone calls from that. And the next steps are currently we're trying to get some more systems in place and deal with all these new people and do some better follow-up and get a marketing calendar together, as Dan and Nicole suggested, in that PT Marketing Bootcamp. I want to do some more speaking. I want to get better at doing this, so next time I come up here, I'll be a lot more polished and ready. And doing some lunch and learns. I'm speaking at the next women's network group that I go to. So this dreary little cubicle is now a distant memory. Yay. And I'm so much happier now working here. Thanks. I have clients tell me, maybe not daily, but at least several times a week, I was able to go tobogganing with my grandkids. I've never been able to do that before I started training with you. And I have one lady that was in tears at the door the other day, gave me a big hug, and she said, "I'm so glad you opened this place." So you can bet your bippy that never ever happened at the lab. So I have clients who love me. You can tell here how much Trish loves me. And I get to work with these three really passionate, wonderful ladies, and I couldn't ask for a better crew. And mastermind group. The connections that I've made in the mastermind group have been amazing. The help that I've received from Dan, Cody, and all the members in that group have been fabulous. I get to interact with them, 3 times a year we meet, and then we talk to each other on the Facebook group. Dina and I talk probably weekly, if not more than that. Get to learn from guys like Bedros Koulian. Sat next to him at lunch last month. That alone was probably worth 3 months of mastermind fees right there. And we just get to have a whole bunch of fun. So that's what I'm all about. I'm all about the people I get to meet, the relationships I get to build, and the fun that I get to have with people. And I couldn't ask for better connections than the ones I've had in the mastermind group. So I don't know, the people I've talked to here all seem to be like a bunch of rock stars. Everybody's got 200 clients. But I'm sure there's probably 1 or 2 of you out here that were like me last year, and you're sitting here with a dream, maybe wanting to reinvent yourself, do something new, maybe start your own business. And I know it's scary, but I want you to know that there's help out there for you. And if you're like me, life really does begin at the end of your comfort zone. It sounds cliche, but that's because it's true. And if you need help, know that it's available to you in the mastermind group. If mature clients are your focus, you really can't go wrong with Dan and Cody. And I can attest that it really is worth it. So thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, I'll be around. Thanks.
Is it possible to put Shelley's second to last slide up again? I have to share this mastermind moment. Thanks so much for sharing that, Shelley. Amazing success story, what you've done. Over on the far left, you can see all-you-can-eat seats. We were here in Phoenix 6 weeks ago, and we took our mastermind to a Diamondbacks game, and Shelley was the official hot dog eating champion. I'm embarrassed to say that she outate me and Cody almost combined. She ate 8 hot dogs. So she got her money's worth on that all-you-can-eat seat. So next up is Lisa Wright. And Lisa is from Corpus Christi, Texas. And I think Lisa is normally hot and Shelley is always freezing. And I'm not sure since they're from opposite ends of the weather spectrum. But Lisa's been in this for over 20 years. And the thing that I love about Lisa is she loves her clients. She's extremely passionate. But early on, we had a bit of a tussle, and I hope she's going to share about that. But I remember very early on, I said, Lisa, I think you paid me a lot of money to help you, and I can only really help you if you're willing to listen to me. And so we sort of struggled through that at first, right? It's like if you don't want to listen to your coach isn't that good for you, right? So that was a bit of our original struggle, but I think once we broke through that, the coaching calls, and one of the reasons Lisa's going to help us with the coaching calls is she was just on it, right? Every other week, she's like, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this. This is what you told me to do last time. I'm going to do this, this, and this. I'm like, yep, do that, do what you're telling me, tweak that just a little bit. She got it dialed in. Her staff basically said, we will take this, this, and this off of your plate. And all of a sudden, her life has changed in amazing ways. So Lisa, welcome to the stage.
In the night, I'm alone. Without you, I'm drifting out. When you take my hand.
Oh my, good morning. How's everybody? Getting hungry? I am. I had a kind bar this morning because I needed to be kind to myself. It's been a bit like getting ready for a marathon, and I've never run a marathon, so this is it. Anyway, so yes, hi. I live at the end of the earth, Corpus Christi, Texas. It's one way in, one way out. We literally have to drive to San Antonio to get here with a reasonable airfare price. And if you're a ship, it's also one way in and one way out because it's a port. But my modest little studio right here, I've been here for 15 years. And it has put a couple of daughters through college. It has seen me through some good times, some bad times. It's fed a whole lot of different employees for different reasons. And I've been in the industry for 20 years. So, and it hasn't always been a walk in the park. A quick question for all of you. Is there anyone here who's just here because of a career change? Raise your hands high. This helps me. So I know, are you embarrassed about that? Don't be embarrassed. My degree's in floriculture and horticulture, but this is the best thing I ever did. So, anybody considering a mastermind or doing something more with Functional Aging Institute, or I hope it's everybody's hands are up or you wouldn't be here, right? Okay, cool. So let's move on. So 20 years ago, I actually started in a big box gym. It was not a franchise big box gym, but nevertheless, it did all the same things. And I thought I was too old to be a personal trainer. I started out as an aerobics instructor, but I had a big heart for the people on the back row. So I reached out to them. I became certified as a trainer and could not wait to get out of the stinkiness. I had no control whatsoever over the cleanliness of the gym, the music, and even back then, I was attracting an older population. I was about 36 years old. So as quick as I could, I had an opportunity. I asked all these clients if they would consider moving with me into 1,100 square foot or behind my house into a garage and an apartment that was gutted. And they all came with me. I didn't want to rob from the gym that I was in, so I encouraged them all to continue with their gym memberships, that I would not charge them a gym membership. And to this day, I don't charge a gym membership. From there, this is a picture of my 1,100 square foot gym, and this was, again, almost, probably about 19 years ago. And I love this picture because I don't even think I realized it until the other day. I was looking through everything and realized that I was attracting the boomers and the traditionalists when I was 36 years old. I don't know what that was about exactly, but it was okay. I was willing. And so I doubled the first year. I tripled the next year. It was growing. I hired an employee. We're working out of 1,100 square feet, and I got turned into the city. So it was zoning issues, and the city was very, very nice, but it had me hot-tailing it out to go find a commercial location. And so I expanded into a 2,000 square foot location. This is the inside of the first picture. I am still here today. I really love my location out in front of my studio. There's a parkway that's exactly 1 mile. So I can tell my clients, go out and walk a mile. There's an alley behind, and I love that because we do alley sprints at all ages. Anyway, so it's a great location. I love it there. It's just been great. This is fast forward to just a couple of months ago, and I just wanted to just show you an image of small group training. And what you see in the background is a man and a woman in their 50s. And then the lady in the foreground is actually in her 70s, and she has Parkinson's. So we train all levels of ability. Becoming a functional aging specialist helped us to learn to train the different levels all within a small group setting of 3 to 6 people. And that works really well. The Smith machine is hilarious there because we don't even really use it for its intended purpose anymore. We hang straps from it, we hang bands from it, and I actually, the most recent picture would be that we now have a suspension system in place with the anchor point training system and still some TRX and stuff like that. So 20 years personal training, and it's been good to me. And then I hit a wall about 4 or 5 years ago. I was the epitome of fitness. I had been a bodybuilder back in my late 30s, early 40s, runner, this, that, and the other. Maintaining my fitness has not been a problem for me because I think I figured out really young that I couldn't control anybody else, but I could control me. And so I was kind of obsessed. But I really hit a wall. I was struggling in relationships, struggling in marriage, struggling with my daughters, struggling with my employees. It was hell. It was hard. And when I hit my bottom, I hit hard. But I found a program, a 12-step program called Al-Anon. And I entered into that program and started attending meetings and discovered that I had been raised and had grown up in the disease of alcoholism. And wow, I got more mad and was hurting more before I started to get better. But what this program did for me is it brought me into the infinite's good also, but it brought me into an intimate relationship with a power greater than myself. And when I began to be able to turn my very strong will, although Dan still experienced that some last year, but when I began to turn my very strong will and my way or the highway over to a power greater than myself, could I actually begin to recover and just make a change. Dan and Cody have been a part of that change. I gathered up some of my staff in 2014. We went out to the IDEA World Fitness Convention. I've been there several times. I attended Cody's workshop there. It was something to do with, I don't remember the name of it, boomers, traditionalist aging, how to train them. Right up my alley. It's totally what I'd been attracting. So I went to his workshop, got on their email list. List is king. Okay, sorry. Is Dan still in here? Where is he? I need to be able to look at him here. The rascal. Okay, anyway, so list is king. I had an email list going on, all this. Again, by the time I went there, I've been in business about 16 years. And anyway, I was on their email list. I'm glad I was on their email list. And I'm glad I didn't unsubscribe because I'm the queen of unsubscribing from email lists. I'll subscribe to your list because I want your free stuff, but then I unsubscribe. And I don't like it when people do that to me, but I do it to them. So there you have it. So their email list led me to ask the staff if they would like to come to the Functional Aging Summit, to ask them if they would like to become functional aging specialists. We were all on the same page because, again, that's who was coming to us. And I had been very reactive in my training years in that if someone came to me, like with fibromyalgia, well, that I would go find a specialization or a certification and learn everything I could about fibromyalgia. I did it with regard to pregnancy and training. And then it got more complicated. As my clients began to get a little older, I began to get a little older, the conditions were more and varying. And so I started taking PT courses in shoulder complex. I was several low back conditions, knees. It's just like, I just had this hodgepodge of education. And it was serving me at some level. But I have to tell you, I thought I was kind of training with exercise science and by the seat of my pants and a little bit of all that. And oh my gosh, to find the functional aging certification and to begin to go through that course. And I just love the way Dan and Cody, talk about the science of exercise combined with the art of individuality. Oh my gosh, I was in. And my whole staff. And so I'd like for my staff, just two of them are here today. I hope you've met them. I'd like for them to stand up, please, for just a minute. This is Marcia. Marcia also is in Mastermind. Marcia's a Mastermind also, and she is a wellness coach and would be perfect for y'all to do some affiliate marketing with someday. Juan came to me as a college intern. A little other story about Marcia, too. Marcia was a client originally. So that's another way to get trainers, okay? Marcia was a client. She had an interest. She came to work for me part-time. Juan was an intern, and he now works for me full-time. Last year, I had to close down the studio to come here. And this year, we have some greenies, some newbies that were back, that are back home, and we did not have to shut down this year. We kept on going while we were here, so. Oh my gosh, you have to spend money to make money. I did learn that years ago. And because we live at the end of the earth, I have always traveled outside of Corpus Christi to gain cutting edge knowledge and to take it back. I like to be on the front end of the industry in my area, and we run behind time. We're kind of island time. We're not an island, but we're a little bit island time down in South Texas. So you have to spend money to make money. I've had many influencers in my life, but yeah, when my insides tell me that this is right, then I've also noticed that I usually have the funds to do it. And so that's a power greater than myself, once again. So fast forward mastermind, I was sitting right where you are last year. And when they started talking about mastermind, I didn't really know what a mastermind was. I will tell you this, because of all my illness and everything that I had been going through with regard to the disease of alcoholism, I knew I was not a master of my mind. I knew I wasn't. My best thinking had gotten me into some of my worst situations relationally with other people, even to the extent that if a client gave me shit, I fired them. I did. You know, I had a client one day to ask me, is this where the cowboy rides off into the sunset? And I'm like, call it what you want. I don't care, but don't come back. This, that, and the other. I don't really fire clients anymore because now I recognize that they're hurting. And we hurt at different levels. Some of us are hurting physically. Some of us are hurting emotionally. Some of us are hurting spiritually. In Al-Anon, I learned about compassion. How cool is that? Okay, I'm ready you guys, it's not fair. You have 20 minutes on here, and then you click it on, and I have 6 minutes left. Okay, I can do that. Oh, you gave me another minute. Thank you. All right. All right, Dan. Where is? Okay, I'm going to tell my story on Dan. That's why he ran. Anyway, fear. So I had my first coaching call with Dan, and he gave me homework, just like Shelly. Shelly, thank you, by the way, for painting out our whole year of Mastermind, because I didn't do that. And I was like, it's perfect that I went after you. Thank you. So fear. So Dan gave me all this homework, and it was like, okay. So for 2 weeks, I was going, okay. And then my brain was like going, yeah, but, and it, I don't think the timing's right. And I had all these questions, and I was writing them all down. 2 weeks later, coaching call to Dan. So, Dan, Dan's asking me, how'd you do? Well, I have a lot of questions. He goes, whoa, you haven't done anything that I just told you to do? I said, I have questions. And, another thing, my staff, every coaching call with Dan, I did conference call with Juan, and I have a full-time marketing and administrative girl. So Juan and Michelle were always on this conference call. So Dan kind of laughed, and then he went, you're afraid. Oh, well, that just pissed me off. And I was like, okay, fine. All right, so why don't you tell me what I'm afraid about? And anyway, he says, you're afraid of perfection and implementation. Actually, I had just learned the same thing in my Al-Anon 12-step program. The reason I wrote the word fear like that, F-E-A-R, that's an acronym. And in Al-Anon, the first thing I learned was that fear was false events appearing real. And my translation for that is making up shit in my head. So I am a pro at doing that. I can make up all kinds. You know what it was? I wanted to figure out every possible outcome. I'm staring at one of my mastermind friends right there, right? You know about this. I wanted to figure out every possible outcome before I implemented the strategy. It doesn't work that way, folks. We are responsible for the effort. We have a passion. We have a calling. We're commissioned. We want to help and reach out to the aging population. And no, they're not a niche. I'm 55. I am in that category. So we're not a niche. We're just a growing population. Yeah, so that was a breakthrough that day, and it was early on. He was right. And after that, Dan knew very little about any of my Al-Anon work or my struggles at that point, but he called me on something. It was perfectly in line with my recovery, And the know, like, trust factor went up to here, and it was huge. I love you, Dan Ritchie. You've been good for me. Cody, too. So, I had another breakthrough. At the first mastermind, they are just talking about numbers. I don't want to do numbers. I didn't want to do numbers. I hadn't done numbers. Even when I was in my worst situations in my life, my business sustained itself. I stayed in the black. I even had a trainer leave and take a whole bunch of clients in 1 month. It was an overnight thing that happened, and it was $10,000 a month that he took. And by the grace of God, my business stayed in the black as I recovered from that. But anyway, lots of stories over 20 years, as you can well imagine. But my second breakthrough was I was at my first mastermind, and they were talking numbers, and I was getting more and more, again, pissed off. My strong will was prevailing, and my brain was making up stuff. And when it was my turn and I was last, I said, I don't want to talk about numbers. I'm not going to talk about numbers. I want to tell you where I've been emotionally and spiritually, and what it was like. And I just need to if I'm going to do this for this next year, I need to tell you all who I am. And I did that day. I have a lump in my throat. And Dan said to me, wow. I remember he even put his marker down. He put his marker down. And I think he sat down when I started telling my story. But then he said, wow, I didn't even know that, Lisa. And he goes, do your clients know this, Lisa? And I was like, yeah, no. No, my clients don't know this, Lisa. I kept my personal life, to the best of my ability, separate from my business life. And I lived a double life because of that. And it was ripping me a new one. I'm from South Texas. I have a little bit of a sailor mouth. I've been in the gym. I can dress up and look like a lady, but it doesn't always come out of my mouth that way. All right, real quick. I got about 3.5 minutes left. Mastermind success. I was already a 6-figure business when I came to Mastermind, but I was at a point where I was either going to move forward with my business and let's do this, or I was done with it. I was tired. I felt tired. And my husband was in the verge of retiring, and that's okay. He retired a year ago. My revenue increased $25,000 this year in Mastermind. And as a result of becoming a functional aging specialist, did I mention my entire staff? There's 5 of us that are functional aging specialists. I have 2 more who are fixing to do it. If you're about to take the functional aging test, you have 3 tests. If anyone's told you that the test is hard, they're absolutely right. Collectively, 3 of us cheated, and we took the first test together. We didn't pass it. I've been in the industry for 20 years. But don't let that, don't let that scare you. The reason I'm telling you that is because you have to take the first test. Then you know what to expect. We took the test, the second test, all 3 of us passed with a 95 or above. Okay, take the first test, get over the fear factor. Revenue increased $25,000. My client base increased 40%. My list grew 40%. I moved my list from one platform to another. 80% of my client base are on electronic fund transfer. That is so huge. I can't even tell you. I was spending 8 or 10 hours a month invoicing because every single client had a different invoice, because if they wanted to take a vacation day, I gave it to them. And I was worried about client retention. And I did it like that for years. It was a nightmare. Dan helped me change that. It was huge. He also taught me about working on the 5% of my business that's going to move me forward. How many of you do to-do lists? Oh, I know, right? Take your to-do list. Oh, I am so sorry. I should not be outfitted with electronic. Am I okay? Okay, I almost knocked it off my ear. How's that possible? Anyway, take your to-do list when you leave here, seriously, and look at it and go, which of those things on your to-do list will actually move your business forward? It will change the whole way you look at a to-do list. I learned that in Mastermind. my book. Nicole shared my book. I don't know what I can tell you much more about this book, except I had a book in me. It was in a 3-ring binder. It was this big. It's not this book, but I knew business cards don't work. I knew some of this. I've been in this industry. This is the coolest thing I could have ever done. To date, I've spent a little over $4,000 on the book. I have 775 books in distribution. I easily order 50 a month to keep handing out. My client retention is at 8. Look at these numbers. You know how much Mastermind is, okay? And I paid Mastermind in full last year, so I saved a little bit. I don't know how they're doing it this year. That $14,955 has paid for my book, and it paid for my Mastermind. Woo! And the credibility of having a book and the credibility of being a functional aging specialist is absolutely priceless. Priceless. Has no price. Okay, and I'd just like to close with, it works if you work it. Stay in the moment. Do the next right thing. Okay? And develop an intimate relationship with a power greater than yourself, because this power has infinitely been able to do things for me and direct me in a way that I could never have ever dreamed of. And I do not believe that Dan and Cody were put in my path by coincidence. So I'm sure of that. Now, we're fixing to go to Mastermind lunch. Look, this is how I am, Dan, right? I just take over your role. Okay, this is how I am. I'm sorry, I'm just this way. So we're fixing to go to Mastermind lunch. Juan is going to go with me, and Marcia is a mastermind. We would like to take some guests with us, and I would like to take a guest. Now, it's not a good lunch. You already heard that yesterday. It's a crappy lunch. Okay, right. So I would like to invite one of you to go as my guest who needs some financial help with your first month of Mastermind. Do not be embarrassed by that. You come find me. If there's a couple of you, maybe Marcia can help you too. Sorry, Marcia, didn't mean to put you on the spot. If there's 3 of you, Dina, where are you? Dina's going to help you. Okay? First month. Highly recommend it. Bless you. Thank you.